let's get our meeting started. Stef, do you have the agenda in front of you right now?
So I don't have any late items, but Ed Walkman would like to add a community center item for 7.3.
Right.
With a discussion of community center, and he would like there to be a resolution from the committee to support community members to vote yes.
Okay. So add that.
Okay.
I normally there's a time for me to talk, but one concern is from a tourism perspective.
You already have a time to talk for your update,
Okay.
and also the discussion will take place at 7.3.
Normally there's a time for me to talk.
Your item is to 5.4, Jody. You're on at 5.4, and there will also be a full committee discussion at 7.3. Is that clear?
Yeah, that's fine. I just didn't know if I wanted to formally bring up an addition to the agenda, but sorry, that's what.
Does it fit under your title, or do you want?
Sure, yeah, no, it fits under my title. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Great. Okay, then shall we move to adopt the agenda? Do we have a mover for that?
As amended.
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
And in favor then, either by showing your hand or clicking the raise hand. Okay, so we've adopted our agenda. And then the minutes of our June 22nd meeting. Is there any changes or others that need to be added or subtracted? No? Okay. Then we recommend that the minutes of the Community Economic Development Committee meeting held June 22nd, 2020 be adopted.
So moved.
Moved, Allison, and I can second that. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
great. Thank you. All right. Well, it's nice that we're still meeting in the cool part of the day here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or it is definitely going to be one of the warmer ones of the summer, I think. So as far as our agenda here, we have, do you want to look at, yeah, I don't think we have a public comment, right?
No.
So yeah, do you want to, do you have the action items there, Stef?
Sure. So the first one, send list of municipal supports for businesses to CDC members for feedback. I think that discussion was based on like there were some requests coming from the community side of an emergency context. And I think some of my staff and you guys were trying to find clarity on what exactly the EDC can do and cannot do. So I did attach a list that Sophie, our communications coordinator, she put together because she was receiving many requests. I sent it around for feedback. I didn't get any. I talked to Sophie about it on Friday or Thursday. I don't feel like it's super relevant anymore, but I can do the list of what we can do is per an EDC resolution that came a couple months ago, prioritize requests that will enable businesses to expand their capacity to comply with safety protocols, encourage buy local mentality. We can provide communications regarding safe reopening, and we can disseminate information from other levels of government. What she's saying we cannot do is individualize signage for individualized businesses. I think we did a bit of that when there was a crisis point happening, and we've kind of moved past that. So businesses should be expected to do their own signage for their individual needs. Is her feeling on that. Enforcing safety protocols within facilities. They can phone bylaw services, but it's not we're not sending staff to help to work there. And I think she's responding to Facebook. There was something about the municipality should be buying masks for all the businesses. That's not a thing. So that's the list there. I hope that's good information for you guys. It's a little bit incomplete, but if you have any thoughts on it or people ask you in the community.
Yeah, I think it's important that we have an ongoing discussion and that we circulate the ideas among the committee, because the impacts to businesses are clearly still really very relevant, but at the same time, you know, with the emergency center at the municipality being decommissioned and things moving on, we need to still be listening to what businesses are asking for, or why they're asking for what they're asking for.
So maybe just send your ideas or questions via email.
And if we send that to, like, can you be the clearinghouse for that stuff? Yeah. Okay.
I'll work with Sophia.
Yeah, I just add that I have received an email from one of the business owners in the Cove asking about additional signage, and Sophie confirmed that there are going to be there's going to be a very large sign, 3 feet by 5 feet, installed in the Cove regarding physical distancing, and there are already signs at Tunstall, Sandy, and Bowen Bay beaches. So that responding to signage mandate for communications is still, you know, really quite active. The big sign in Snug Cove is a wee bit delayed, but it's coming soon, is my understanding.
I think her concern was individualized, like a specific company. She's fine with signage for everyone. And the big sign, I think, was a mistake, but so it's massive. But I think it's one of those happy mistakes. It's
A mistake in what way?
it's bigger than she intended.
Good.
I know. I think it's good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Happy mistake.
I just want to add that sign has already gone up by the ferry terminal, like as you walk off
Great.
one side. So it's already up.
Great, excellent. Thanks, Jody.
And the next on the action items then is Rod was to share the link regarding volunteers being paid with provincial support with the committee. For example, students working for the Tourist Information Center.
And I'm not sure if I shared that to everyone, but I did share a link. And of course, lots has happened in the public eye on that program since we had our last meeting. I'm not clear about exactly where the program is at, whether it's completely stalled or whether it's moving forward. Did you look into it at all, Jody, just out of curiosity?
Yes, I did have a quick look at it. It wasn't very much money, and I didn't think it was that I would have the uptake for that. I'm having a hard enough time getting good people to work at the visitor center, and paying, you know, a higher wage, like an actual wage. We are funded. We get the funding through the Canada Summer Jobs, which is awesome. That enables us to do what we can do. So.
And I'd like to comment, I walk by there almost every day with the dog. And when your people are there, they're very, very good.
Thank
We
you.
were at Rustique yesterday. My dad was commenting on how great they were.
Yeah, no, we're there. They're trained, you know, to follow professional visitors services counseling. They do training. They are there. Their first and foremost mandate is to capture people so that we give them the information right from the get-go, that they're not wandering around, you know, ferry marshaling, where to get your ticket, how to line up your car, where the washrooms are, the trails, also connecting them to where they can eat or drink or go shopping. So yeah, no, I've got a couple of really good staff people so it's good.
Good. Okay. So as far as the volunteer program, yeah, I'm not clear. You know, it'd have to be an initiative of a organization, I think, to be able to enable volunteers to work. And I think the funding was up to $5,000 that a student could receive towards their schooling expenses for volunteering for organizations or places. But again, it just seems like such a quagmire at this point in terms of it was announced that the We Charity, of course, was going to run it, and then it appears that that's not happening at the moment, and who knows what's happening. So unless someone has other information, I don't have any other information on that. Yeah, go ahead, Steph.
Maybe move on then.
Yeah, let's move on.
Items. So the next one we have is Councillor Morris and I working together on the OCP. That's not happened.
Yeah.
Another one about the OCP, and then about the last one is regarding digital roadmap, which has not happened, and we will get to that at the subcommittee section.
Great.
We can move on from that.
Steph, do you have access to Helen's files? Because she had it all.
Yeah, I can find them possibly. I don't know if she was working on that common drive, but I will look at that. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we've moved our updates for all of us to the beginning, because that's probably the focus really of our meeting right now. And province update is right at the top. Wendy, do you have something that you want, or anything that you want to share with us at this point?
Good morning, everyone. Hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yeah.
Just a quick update on the Alacrity boot camp that was mentioned at the last CEDC meeting about a month ago, when Stephanie, my colleague at JEDC, mentioned about that program, and it was at that point it was going to be announced. So it has been announced last week, and they are currently accepting registrations for small businesses, I'd say, that are, if your business is impacted by COVID and you'd like help in terms of digital marketing skills or SEO, search engine optimization skills, any of that sort in terms of e-commerce. It's a 6-week program. It's free for the first 250 registrants for small businesses and potentially for individuals, but more information can be found on the web link that I can send to Stef, if that's okay, and Stef can forward it to your good folks on Bowen.
That's great. Just a quick question on that program, Wendy. It seemed like in looking at the web link that I saw, that it would be really great for someone who was interested in starting or in evolving their marketing career specifically. Is it really for small business people who want to do more of their own marketing, or is it really for a marketing professional to advance their career?
So you are correct on both streams, actually. So it's for both. It's for small businesses that want to, I guess, pivot or get more into the online kind of business, online business, and selling their products online, as well as for any individuals that are currently unemployed or underemployed and would like to then transition, let's say, to another career path, or kind of learn more about social media and digital marketing skills. So they can also apply to that program. It's through a slightly different channel, but it all goes through Alacrity, and they will be able to direct the business or the individual to its own specific stream.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so it's quite a wide reach of possibilities.
Wendy, I've got a quick question. Again, I think this is a fantastic initiative that the province is making. I think we've seen with COVID that the businesses that have been most resilient have been ones who've had digital capacity in terms of reaching out to their customers, or implementing a telecommuting workforce, et cetera, et cetera. Can't help but to think, though, those 250 places are going to get filled up rather quickly. Is the province talking about extending the program or expanding it in any way?
So number one, yes, it is filling up very quickly. The last I heard, I think a quarter of the spaces were filled when it was shortly announced. I do not know if there are plans to expand it. I can definitely bring that question back to my ministry colleagues and see what their thoughts are. This was a program, I guess, that was launched simply because of the impact of what COVID has done to a lot of small businesses and individuals. So to your point, I will have to find that out. On a related note, There is because of, again, of COVID and the need for, I guess, transitioning businesses to have more of an online presence. You may be aware that Small Business BC has a digital marketplace that they've launched back in April. There's an opportunity to kind of look at whether they're constantly, looking at promoting these BC businesses onto this provincial. They're an arm's length agency of BC, and so there's an opportunity to promote businesses onto that website. And that is something that I can chat with you more, I guess, if there is an interest for Bowen Island businesses to participate. There are potentially other ways that they're looking at enhancing their marketplace, where it could have maybe more curated content, more of a island presence, I'd say, versus a more regional presence, maybe that some other communities are looking at. And it really depends on how you'd like to look at, branding or putting your Bowen Island mark onto that marketplace. So there's an opportunity for that as well, and definitely can try and help assist Bowen Island on that front.
That's a really interesting suggestion for sure. We do see a number of Bowen Island businesses using Facebook, and then Bowen Online a little bit more robustly in order to reach their customers. So I think that's an interesting suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. If anything else, I'm happy to kind of have folks learn more about what those plans are.
So it just in that offer, Wendy, which is really great, would it make sense for us to consider hosting for our local businesses, like a Zoom session where you would participate and we talk specifically about that program?
I think that is one good option. We could definitely pull in Small Business BC representatives that are working on that enhancement of their website, and have them either come on at the next CEDC meeting on September, or at another platform that you guys would like to suggest.
Yeah, I think our, perhaps our online business meetup format would work well for that. So we can talk.
There's one scheduled September 12th.
Yeah, September 12th. Yeah, so that might be an idea. I'll keep that on our list there.
Perfect. So what I'll do is maybe I'll touch base with you guys and try and schedule something for presentation for that date.
Great. Okay. Okay, any other province updates you'd like to share with us?
I think I'm good. Enjoying the really nice weather this week.
No kidding, eh? Yeah, it's nice to have that. We're glad to have our golf course open and other things going on Bowen Island, that's for sure. Okay, then to council highlights and update. Does one of the councillors want to, or any of the councillors want to make any comments as to what's been happening with council here?
I can say a couple of things. With our last council meeting, we passed the short-term rental bylaw, and there will be a public awareness program that's being launched in the coming month. Emma Chow and Sophie Itzinga are working on that. Another thing that just came through council recently was an additional step in the Grafton Lakes subdivision that moves that project forward a bit. Tonight we have on the agenda, it's a very full agenda, the use of Streets Bylaw, which makes some adjustments to speed limits throughout the island. We have some additional background on the temporary use permit revision to the official community plan. If you remember, we ran into some hitches with that, and there needs to be an OCP revision. If it passes tonight, then it'll go into public hearings, public input. Big thing on the agenda tonight is an update on the community center. And there's also an item on the water issues that are occurring in the Eagle Cliff area. So that's what I'm seeing. Michael, Allison, anything to add?
I think so. Thank you, Maureen. As well, I expect that's pretty comprehensive. I think they're bigger, fairly substantive issues that are in front of us, and a lot of them have got capital implications. So yeah, this is I think our last meeting before the August break. Am I right?
Yep.
My understanding is that there may be another meeting in August. Meeting. Yeah,
it
towards
was
the end.
Yes, towards the end. It is a bit of a struggle with so much going on, seems all the time, to take very lengthy breaks. So we'll have to play extra meetings as needed.
I would encourage everybody, I think everything Maureen covered is covered in the council highlights, which is the information item that was linked there. And it's got links to all the reports and everything. So, you know, I'm hoping everybody's on the actual distribution list from the municipality and gets those when they're released. If you're not, then Stef can tell you how to get on.
If you're not, there's a link in the signature of my email that says, would you like any news? It's in every email I send you, there's a link to get on there so you can share that with your friends or yourself.
Good for you, Stef.
Thanks, Steph. Okay, then if there's anything else from council, do we have anything else at the moment? No. Okay, then staff. Steph, I guess that's you.
So I just wanted to provide update reports in order to keep information gathered in one place and on the record. So the first one is the update to the toilet report that I submitted in December 2019. And then to this, just adding on the latest activities regarding to public facilities. The three key activities are one, we did enter into, I think you might know this already, but we did enter into a collaborative agreement with Metro Vancouver, and they have installed a porta potty at the Crippen Park trailhead between Seaside Cottage and the Tourist Information Center. In addition, Carla and I signed the whole, we put about 15 signs up indicating where the BC Ferries washrooms are. Mostly once you pass them, it looks like an electricity shed. So trying to say like there is one 10 feet behind you, don't panic. And so we've signed all of that. We also talked to businesses as we were doing it to say like, you know, where do people come to ask for washrooms and put the signs up. Jody approached us with this huge grant opportunity, and Public Works looked into it. Public Works is quite overwhelmed right now with capital projects going on. I want to say there are almost 5 big projects and understaffing. So they did look into it, but I think council and the councilors can speak to this. There wasn't enough clarity, and the library was applying for the same grant and they had tons of clarity. So
Can I pop in here?
Yes, please.
Part of the issue was a building in addition to a building, or having a standalone, doesn't matter, was actually figuring out how much it was going to cost to do it. So we even had the right information to apply for the grant. And in looking at your report, Tina was present at the meeting because of the library application for the accessible doors. And they'd already done all the research. But she piped up and said there is a public accessible washroom available at the library. It's in the hall between the Cove Commons and the library. So
Okay.
when the library's open, that's an available public accessible washroom.
Okay.
Okay, can I just say that's news to me, because the last time we had a conversation about this, they didn't want, and my understanding is they don't want the public going in there.
Well, she commented that there was a public accessible washroom available at the library, which was, you know, in the new edition, not there's washrooms in the library itself, and then there's the one in the hall. So it's that one she was referring
Yeah,
to.
no. Right. I'll talk to them personally, but the last time we had a conversation about this, maybe it was one of the digital meetups, they were very much, because of COVID in particular, not wanting that publicized as a public toilet, but I'll talk to them again.
Well, there's a difference between publicizing it and if somebody's looking for something, sending them over there, if they're needing an accessible washroom.
And also, Allison, it's a municipal building, so I don't know if Tina gets to make that decision. I think it's about what.
Yeah.
So
So I would think if somebody is needing an accessible washroom and the building's open, there's nothing wrong with sending them over there for that.
I can chirp in if anyone would about Cove Commons and the Hearth. Yes, the library, Tina and ourselves would like to limit how many people are coming in to use the washrooms. So yeah, it shouldn't be publicized. The thing is, though, if you don't publicize it, people don't know it's there. So
Well, I guess what I'm saying, Jamie, is when somebody comes in to Jody and says, I need an accessible washroom, then she can send them over there. There's a difference between publicizing it and sending them over there. Yeah.
Jody, by all means, could send people over to our facility to use the accessible washroom.
If somebody comes, like the other day, a woman with a cane, she's in a party of 5 people, she's got kids. I let her with the cane use it, and then the kids and the father walked back to the ferry terminal to use it. It would be really great to nail down exactly what people want and don't want, because we get asked multiple times each day about washrooms. It's a standard. People come specifically to the visitor center looking for a washroom, and we don't have a public washroom, so we redirect them to outhouses or ferry terminal. So it's a real need. There's also a huge need for, particularly in the hot weather, for a water fountain, a public water source. So we let people once again use the tap at the visitor center, but that's that there's no place for people to fill up their water bottles.
Well, I think everybody at the council meeting recognized the need, but there was the timing of the grant application and the information that was needed. Plus, it wouldn't have gotten built for this summer. But it's certainly on the list and the radar. Yeah. So.
Okay, Allison, no, I totally agree that grant, and when the timing for it was not good, I agree, but yes, so I'm glad it's on the radar.
I don't think there was any disagreement from anybody that we need some better public washrooms. Yeah.
and that's the second
Okay,
point.
great, thank you for confirming that.
Yeah, and Jody, I don't want to miss your point, because I think it's new to the discussion about a water fountain or water bottle fill station. Is that something that you've actually made any kind of request or taken any action on? Or do you have ideas about that need to be presented for that?
Sorry, my internet's going a little bit in and out. Was that for?
That's the water fountain. Yeah, it's Rod. And I don't want to get into a big discussion about the water fountain.
Yes.
But on the other hand, I do want to I don't want to lose that point, because I think that's a new point in our discussion. I'm not familiar with talking about that.
That's something we can add to the action list, or something that we can just track, the need for a place for people to fill water bottles.
So we have discussed it, which is fine. It's come across before, but you're asking if Jody's applied for funding, or?
Well, I'm just wondering if there's any initiative in place, or if we need to, again, create an action item might be an idea to make that
water fountains on the radar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't call it water fountains. They're verboten. It's called water bottle filling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my mind actually went immediately to the one in the Horseshoe Bay, Bowen Island waiting area. Something like that was publicly accessible. It seems like it would be a natural fit. But anyway, again, that's for future discussion, I think.
Yeah,
Okay, I've
Rod,
got
I
a note
have-
for action items.
Okay, just to answer your question, Rod, sorry, I'm going in and out here. Yes, in my reports to council, I have pointed that out and talked about sustainability, about rather than people going to buy packaged water, we should have a water source so people can use refillable. So I have made that in my reports. I have a feeling that when I do the general reports from the visitor center, that it's maybe too much and recommendations get lost and stuff. So I appreciate it if it could go sort of public record on here. That would be very helpful.
And could we?
So just having said that, then is it better for supporting businesses to send people into stores to buy things?
Well,
No,
it's
I don't.
Oh, it's, you know, are you wanting them? We don't want people buying reuse plastic water bottles
Yeah.
and filling this ocean up with plastic. So which is it? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I think maybe one action item we could have would be, I believe that BC Ferries would have installed the one in the waiting room in Horseshoe Bay. So do we need to perhaps have an action item to contact the Ferry Advisory Committee and see if that has been part of their discussions to have one on the Bowen Island side?
Okay.
It hasn't.
Okay, so we're getting deeper into the issue here now, which wasn't my
So
intention. But
the last part of the last action on my report, then the updates were that there was the Crippenhead temp toilet, there was the grant application, which Allison has fleshed out. And then finally, the Director of Engineering of the municipality is very open to collaborating with Metro Vancouver to construct a proper accessible washroom at some point. He doesn't have the capacity right now, but his brain and heart are in the game on that. But they would probably be more the seaside cottage location, a little bit farther away from the visitor center, but that would be that's his project.
Maureen, is that something you could bring up at the Parks Committee?
I think she said no.
Yeah, she shook her head and said no.
But I think it's up to, you were muted, Maureen.
Sorry. I said no, it's too operational a discussion. They tend
Yeah,
to.
Patrick's on it now.
Yeah. And I think that you're more likely to get a good response with having Patrick take it forward.
Yeah, he's very into it. So. Okay, and then the next is, can I move on?
yes, please.
So the next one, and this is a little, I feel a little bit kind of sheepish about this one. So at the very beginning of all the Zoom digital meetups of the COVID that Chris and Rod and Vaune and Natasha was so great, but they did a survey. There was like 75 respondents in 2 seconds, and then they lost the data. And then so I made another survey and then added a little bit more with Jen McGowan, the emergency program coordinator. And then by the time it kind of got signed off on and got distributed, we were just getting surveyed like crazy. It was the province and Small Business BC and the feds. And so I didn't really promote it because of survey fatigue, but I didn't want it to get lost. So I've just provided it for the record. There are about 40 respondents. The information was useful, I think, for the digital meetups and for ongoing EOC type activities. Yeah, but I've just provided it so it doesn't get lost. That's
And
it.
is it attached to our
Yeah.
our items here?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a funniness because there's 3 different forms of data and the results, and one's about 180 pages. So I just attached that to the email, so you can choose to delete it or not. I didn't include it in the agenda.
But the one in the agenda has it all in graphs, which was interesting.
It does, yeah, but some blanks.
So that was,
And you have all 3 in your email.
yeah, it was hard to read on an iPad for some reason. It was interesting, like question 9 about applying for assistance. Only about 30% had.
Mhm.
Yeah.
30% of 40 people who responded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's that out of total businesses, do you think, Steph?
What did we have in the business license list? 380?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of businesses that are storefronts with employees and not just one man, one band, one
Well,
person.
no, I think they're definitely non-storefront respondents on this.
Yeah. But I guess, yeah. I guess I was thinking most of the programs are for people that are, have storefronts or have employees, getting the money.
Well, if there was interest in that, we could do a proper survey that's got cleaner data, I think, if you want to just a storefront.
So Steph, we did have, a small amount of people respond to the Navigator survey, right?
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
Navigator pilot survey, and
Mhm.
only 5 people responded, but they did represent a huge number of workers, right?
Mhm.
Like, I can't remember the number now, but it was well over 50, I think.
Okay.
Mhm.
In the question where it said, if your business were to fail, how many other people would be affected in terms of their income? And it was over 50 people. So, and I did notice in that most of the people had applied for most of the assistance programs, and most of them had received it.
Okay.
So small sample there, but representing actually quite a few other business people on the island, or at least employee, people who get revenue from that business being open, kind of thing.
So yeah, I guess it's just a question of what you want to do with the information. So if we could sort of amalgamate these two surveys, then we would have some sort of data, but I just don't feel like this is really reliable for anything.
Yeah,
And the real shortcoming of the other survey too was that nobody took the time when it came to, like, you actually had to write something other than just click, yes, this box or whatever. Nobody took the time to write any more ideas about what else they would want in terms of assistance or services, right?
Yeah.
Which is what we were really hoping to get out of that. And so that was too bad.
So I guess the highlight is that you're sensing survey fatigue, Steph, but also I think there's an issue around, if we're going to survey, we have to design it with
well, it was at that time, at that period.
Yeah.
And I think, we're like, it was sort of the next Zoom meeting or digital meetup. Okay, we lost the data from the last one. Here's the new survey. And then and here's the provincial survey, and here's the federal survey, and it was literally buried. So I can go knocking door to door. I don't mind doing that, making sure that people, I can really promote something like that, but I think even, Rod, your information was that the feds in the province were actually doing something with that information, like giving money. Whereas I was curious. So I was, it's more important that people are filling those out than ours too.
Yeah. Okay, well, when we need a survey, when we feel like we need one, then that's the time for us to go through with that. So let's move on to Jody.
Can you guys just vote to accept those so I can get it in the record?
Okay, Maureen and Ed, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So tourism.
Hi, good morning. So the visitor center opened the last week of June when we were in phase 3. It was wasn't quite expecting it, Premier Horgan, to say, "Oh, as of today, we're in phase 3." I thought there would be a bit of warning. So just generally, we're noticing that yes, visitors are coming, but we're not getting the numbers that we had previously, which is good, I think. The visitor center is equipped. We've added, as I said previously, we see ourselves as frontline destination management and community economic development, connecting people with stores and resources and stuff. But this year, of course, the COVID layer has been added. We did get a grant from Destination BC, as did other visitor centers, for $1,000. So that's enabled us to give out masks and provide hand sanitizer, And we are actively, when we're talking to people, all staff wear masks, so we're modeling that. And we actively are now asking people if they can't maintain the COVID health and safety recommendations, particularly physical distance, to wear a mask. And if they need one, we give them out. So very much trying to do that. We don't talk to everybody, but we certainly, like I said, the staff are trained to try to capture as many people as possible. And we are modeling, we're set up, we're trying to support the COVID. Yeah, I think that's all. If anybody's got any other questions. Oh, reduced a lot of, because we are getting quite a few requests for accommodation. The capacity, a lot of visitor vacation rentals haven't opened. I don't know if that is just for the near future. I know a number have closed down. So there is definitely, the emphasis for people, if they can't come and stay, they'll be doing day trips. If people come and stay, the studies show that they spend actually more time in the community. They appreciate the community. They get out a bit more. So there's probably going to be a bit of a shift in that.
Yeah, I was curious about that, Jody, because I had some friends coming from the city for this weekend and I was looking on Airbnb just to see where they could stay. Sunday night was fine, but Saturday was completely not available, including Alderwood and like everybody. But I wondered, looking at the Airbnb calendars, because you can see when you get up a particular property, you can see what dates are available and the rest are X'd out. And I didn't know if that meant they were full or they weren't open yet. You don't know, right? They've just taken the availability off of their calendars. So
yeah, summer weekends are always snapped up really quickly, so there's no surprise there. But yes, generally because we're doing searches, because we're getting the requests and we're searching and the availability is not there. So yes, I do think I think people, COVID's impacting everything, obviously, and that's impacting people about vacation rentals. I know a number that have closed. I also know a number that have told me they're not opening right now. So yeah, and
they're limited. Yeah, they were able to get Sunday, Monday night. So that's what they did. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. That's great. Thank you, Jody. And it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't think we really have a way of tracking who's closed and who's open. But going forward, that will be an interesting measure, and it might be an important thing to communicate to the public, just in terms of people understanding what's going on in our community and what's happening. But no specific ideas there right now. So we should move on to the Hearth. And Jamie, do you have a quick update for us?
Hi, thanks. Hi, everyone. We still haven't been able to hire a Canada student job position, although we do have 2 applicants for this week to interview. It's a bit late in the season, but we just didn't get any applications, which was kind of weird. As for the volunteer program, we did look into it like Jody and realized that it just isn't something that's really easy to do. Plus most of our volunteers, or all of them, are over 30. They're not young. So we wouldn't qualify for the volunteer program for that. We're just busy right now getting ready for the referendum for the community center. Just to let everyone know, we have contracted Jacqueline Massey on behalf of the Bowen Island Arts Council as a communications coordinator for the referendum. She as well has been contracted by the municipality as a fundraising coordinator. So just if you see Jacqueline around, she is contracted and she may reach out to you for some reason. We're open and selling art, and people are coming through. We're practicing our safe distancing and mask wearing protocols. and everything's sort of business as usual down here at the Hearth.
Great. Thanks, thanks, Jamie. That's good to hear, business as usual. Okay, and then next on our agenda is our subcommittee reports. And maybe I'll just start on that with the digital meetups. So we met on our new meeting time, which is Tuesday at 9 in July. And we decided not to meet in August, but rather to meet in September. We had a small group on our last meeting, but it was people who had been with us the whole time, cross section of businesses of Bowen. And we had good conversation. So one of the crossovers from that meetup was that yes, there would be value in having additional meetups and perhaps having themes. So back to Wendy and you know, your Alacrity program, accessing that you know would fit right along in line with what we had been talking about. I don't know, Vaune, if you want to add anything to that, but we have a few other things on the agenda that we should get to, and time is getting by for us. So,
No, I'm good. I'm good.
yeah, okay. And so then the Rural Islands Partnership is worth touching base on, and you've probably seen some of the emails coming from Francine Carlin from Salt Spring and some of the other key people working on the interim board at the Rural Island Economic Partnership, but really progressing the Island Comeback gift certificate program. And there's been a start to the more business and public engagement and promotion. But the exciting news, if you didn't hear, is that BC Ferries has become a social media advertising partner with the Island Comeback, meaning that there's going to be references to the Island Comeback website and the e-commerce through the gift certificate programs on all the BC Ferries social media and in terminals, on screens, and some really, really great engagement that's going on there. I believe that also both from a wider scale, Van City is sponsoring the site, and also I believe that First Credit Union here in Bowen is going to be contributing $1,500 to sponsorship of the program. So there's a real commitment of some of the community level and regional level partners to make this happen. And on the delivery side, that means that the awareness and amplification of the message for Island Comeback and for our local island communities is going up, and it's potentially going to go up quite a bit over the next few months. One of the areas that you know we need to, on our community level and our businesses, figure out is how do we communicate that opportunity to our local businesses and translate that into people actually both becoming aware of local businesses and transacting and actually purchasing gift certificates through the site. So there's quite a bit going on there, and if you just go to islandcomeback.ca, either as a business or an organization or as a consumer, you can navigate the site quite easily at this point. Steph, do you want to jump in there?
Thanks. So there is some work to be done as far as some fairly big players in the community. For example, Cocoa West, others maybe like them that were kind of engaged, but then ran into administrative difficulties with the payment program and just bailed. Cocoa West comes to mind because there's a big, beautiful photo of them that's excellent that we want to keep on the website. And I just wanted, I would like to appeal to committee members. As a paid staff, I would always feel sheepish asking you guys to do things as volunteers. But I can't approach businesses and try to promote them to be on this site as municipal staff. It's not one of the things that is within my purview, but you guys can, I think. So if any of you want to knock on some doors or help with promoting other businesses signing up to make it more robust, that would be appreciated.
I think there's the business engagement working group is kind of the natural area to follow up with this program, and that but I think it probably needs new membership, both from this committee but also from our local business community, and maybe that's the way that we can do that, and we probably need to have some kind of meeting before our next regular CEDC meeting with regards to that in the business engagement working group. So maybe we can talk about, I know August is a difficult time to have any kind of meeting, but if Stef and myself and anyone else on this committee wants to join, I think I would also invite, would you like to say something or join with us, Allison, in terms of meeting on that? I thought I saw your hand raised there.
No, I was telling.
You were combing your hair. Okay. So, there's Marie Nays and there's some other people who are active in the business community in different ways. And I think that they would be natural people to invite to our working group. And if there are other people that any of you can think of that would really be a natural for that, that's a high value contribution, I think, because as Steph said, you can't necessarily chase down, and really that leads us again back around to, well, if there was a local business organization or association or group of some form, that would be a good place for that initiative to rest with. So I think that's enough said about Island Comeback for the moment.
Can I just two comments? One, I mean, I always promoted it when I was doing the member newsletters from Tourism Bowen Island. I know that some people as small business owners just run into capacity issues. And I know in particular one person wanting to sign up. I don't know if she just didn't have the wherewithal, the technology to do it. The other thing, which I should have brought up in my little segment about tourism, is there's always the voices, particularly on Facebook, that are anti-tourism, and in particular because of COVID, that has amped up as well. So for instance, there was recently Global, which was their own initiative, do this community feature, just wanted photographs about Bowen Island. There was a huge uproar, so I sent a message saying, look, the community vulnerable at this time, we respectfully declined the thing, and they didn't do it. But it's always a fine line about managing that, respecting what the community wants, but it's also, some voices that are not, for instance, on Facebook, the opinions expressed are not fact-based. So it's a really hard navigating that for like the Island Comeback, which is great, but there's going to be backlash to that as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, but that's the place where a committee or a working group can have strength, because then you're not just as an individual or one organization trying to rebuke, the noise that's going on in the background or the views that are being expressed, and so I think maybe that's a good time to reach out. Anyway, just a thought about how to handle that kind of information. The other thing is Island Comeback is very sensitive to island concerns, and it, the whole writing and the flavor of the site is respectful of islanders and our culture and our environment, which I know Tourism Bowen's message is as well, but I guess maybe the concern is Global News will say something that's offbeat with that. I'm not sure.
So I've got For the business, oh, sorry.
Hey, sorry, this is Natasha. Sorry for being late. I couldn't get out of an obligation.
Yep, thanks. Welcome.
But I had a little bit of a idea about getting more people campaign. Yeah, so kind of just the idea is, I think, you know, even if some people think it's a good idea and want to be a part of it, they could be a little intimidated about setting it all up. So kind of my idea was almost about maybe, you know, like Rod and Vaune and other people who are experienced with it, actually hosting a workshop and walking people through every little bit. And that's something that maybe we could post on like the Bowen Island events page, small errands, tasks, jobs, something along those lines, like make it an informational workshop as well too, and help walk people through the process.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. And
we could get people from the partnership, right? Who could probably do it, because I personally haven't, you know, tried to go through the process. So
yeah, I'm on there and it is pretty easy, but like I'm also very experienced in doing business online, have put a lot of time and effort into it already. And I would love to share it. And also maybe somebody could answer things that I haven't figured out yet.
So,
you know, maybe what would really help people is if we could, in a COVID fashion, have a in-person workshop. And I don't know if there's a space, whether it's outdoor or by limiting numbers, and you know, just doing it with small numbers, physically distanced on laptops or something. If there was a way that we could do that, but if anyone has any ideas, and maybe you do, Natasha, on how we could do that, even if we just did one and reached just a few businesses, we would get a sense of how that could work.
Well, I just had the idea about maybe doing it at the Snug after hours, because they have internet and they have all that beautiful patio space. Plus, I think it'll be very visual. Like people will be walking by like, oh, what's going on at the Snug after hours, you know? And then we could have a little poster or something about it.
Right. Yeah. And I suppose another place where potentially physical distancing could happen might be at the Hearth or in that space too. Okay, well, let's, can we, outside of this meeting, talk more about that, Natasha?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Great.
For question, Rod.
Yeah.
It's Allison. How many actual Bowen businesses have participated?
Is it 26, Stef, somewhere around there? I think the last one I saw was 26.
And how does that compare to the other islands?
I think Salt Spring has more and the other islands have less.
Yeah, well, Salt Spring has a lot more stores than we have.
That's right, yeah. Now, one thing, sorry, and I'm backtracking here, I didn't mention that as part of this expanded amplification of this program, the Van City Buy Local BC program that's going on now has a specific link. And I sent to everyone an email about this, but it's worth repeating. For the rural islands as being a region where gift certificates and are available. But I think that's really significant in a lot of ways, but in particular, it's recognizing the efforts of the Rural Island Economic Partnership in identifying our communities, our rural island communities, as an economic region. And that's something that is, you know, core advocacy is part of that group for our local communities and advocacy with the province in particular. Yeah.
Is that for me? When I was asking them, the Buy Local BC, about, so then they said, okay, well, they're not going to make us do it twice, but they'll link over.
Yeah, I know, terrific, and that's a good point, Stef, and you deserve some acknowledgement there. Because
well, actually, just to be like that, it was serendipitous, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's how these things are being built, which is terrific. Okay, so in interest of moving on, Kiersten, I don't know if you want to add any comments. Do we still have Kiersten with us, or did she have to
She's
duck out?
rejoined. Oh.
She had to duck out, I think. Okay, we're going to leave the digital roadmap for the moment. New business, emergency response, business continuity planning.
Okay, so we
Maureen, can I just add, Natasha, can you mute your,
I'm muting her.
thank you.
Okay.
So as you know, for the EDC Business Summit a couple years ago, we had a business continuity planning presentation by Jennifer McGowan, the emergency program coordinator. Some other emergency planning has come up. Since then, the Emergency Management Committee of Council municipalities bounced around business continuity planning. We make working groups. It never happens. It's been years. And then when the Emergency Operations Center was mobilized in response to COVID, one of the primary activities was to support essential services. And in doing that, we found that a lot of the trying to find out if people have business continuity plans was a little bit uncomfortable. There's a lot of private questions, staff member phoning and trying to get information about their finances or resources or staffing levels. It feels a little invasive and inappropriate. So I was part of the advanced planning team on the EOC, and there were recommendations regarding the 10 vulnerabilities that have been identified on the island: food security, infrastructure, water. And so one of the overriding recommendation that came out of the advanced plan was we need to make sure the essential services have business continuity plans, not be guessing, not be assuming. Some of them have systems in place. They don't call it a business continuity plan. Some of them have a safety plan and they think that's a business continuity plan, which it's not. So the overriding recommendation was that we support essential businesses if they are essential to us as a community for food or heat or getting a log off the road in a winter storm. If we rely on them, then we should in some way support them and make sure that they have their business continuity plans. So we came up with a formula, and that would be 1/3 the emergency plan budget, which isn't huge and is almost gone because of the pandemic. 1/3 an application to the Community Foundation Resiliency Grant, and 1/3 an appeal to the Community Economic Development Committee to come up with funds to host a workshop that will be free for businesses that provide essential services to craft a business continuity plan or update theirs if it already exists. I would like to add that my concern is that people come to these things, they do a training, they walk away, and the file never gets closed. So I was working with a facilitator and trying to come up with a strategy wherein that won't happen. And we came up with the idea to have like 15-minute sessions after the workshop. So maybe you do a 2-hour workshop, you figure out your business continuity plan, and a week later, we schedule one-on-one meetings that are private, confidential, and where people can dot their I's and cross their T's and hopefully have a plan in place. What do you think?
Question about I think doing the overall educational workshop is a great idea. The after ones, who would be the person they would be meeting with?
The facilitator.
And the facilitator is an outside independent off-island person?
And all the above. Her name is Lisa Bonini.
Okay.
And she's experienced in creating these plans.
Very experienced.
Okay.
Yeah, having been involved with trying to get information on businesses and even with tourism, with even the number of rooms they had or the number of beds and stuff, that was not information that people were generally wanting to share. So that should meet the confidentiality.
Hopefully.
Stef, I'll just mention that the Community Foundation had allocated an additional $1,000 to support the Navigator program, because we had the initial pilot part, and then felt like, you know, until we get some other kind of resource in place, we should bridge it. And I said I would continue to be available.
Okay.
And as it's turned out, nobody has contacted me. I've not been asked for any assistance again. So I spoke to Sherry the other day and I told her that. And I said, I know you have this, you know, this on our agenda today. So perhaps the Community Foundation could just cancel the, the grant to me as a navigator and redirect that money to this. And she obviously knows all about this project, right? And I think supporting it. So anyways, you might want to follow that up because
Okay.
I made that suggestion. She seemed amenable to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Which
So
would maybe
I
then
could
take
just add something.
sorry.
Yeah, just add something here. This was brought up at the last meeting of the Resiliency Fund Committee, but there hasn't been a formal decision made at this time. My expectation is that it will be positive. The ask that was being discussed was $1,500. So as Vaune said, the 1,000 would be in addition to that.
So is that the total budget, or is that the 1/3 of a contribution?
The total
1,500.
budget is 4,500
4,500, yeah.
divided by 3. I've written the application. Just go. I'm looking at it now. Just I thought after we're talking to you, I can do the final edit on it before submitting.
Great.
So do you want us to essentially
Right.
approve up to $1,500 for a 1/3 contribution for a business continuity planning workshop
Yes,
from our budget?
yes, please.
But do
does
we
that
need
sound
that
like
much now? If
So it's $4,500 budget or quote. So we were going to ask for 1,500 from the BIM emergency plan budget, 1,500 from the resiliency fund, and 1,500 from the committee was the ask. I don't know that that's a quote that would take into consideration all these one-on-one sessions. So if the money were less, we could return some. Hopefully it will not be less though, because we want as many people to participate as possible.
so
And
I'm
the-
suggesting that you ask the Community Foundation for 2,500 and then we look at 500 from our budget.
So one thing about just a sec, honey. One thing about the community foundation that I know, and Maureen can probably speak to this more and Ed, is that I think people like collaboration. They like there to be more skin in the game, more stakeholders. So that's, I think they might feel better if there was a contribution in kind from the committee. I can see you're trying to save our budget though, Vaune. Do you want me to hold the budget?
I guess that's in my other question. I'm not quite sure where we are.
So I attached it as well. It's so colorful.
I think it would be unwise for us to cut the CEDC contribution to this project. I think
So
we
what about
should,
the
we should leave it at 1,500.
Yeah, and what about having 2,500 plus 1,500 plus 1,500? So that's.
I think we should, I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves. I think putting in an application that says 15, 15, 15, and then if the Community Foundation wants to act on providing an additional $1,000, redirecting your grant application, that's great. But there's a process involved. There are 6 or 7 members of that committee. They still have to deliberate. Sherry may have responded that yes, it could be redirected, but that has not been decided.
No,
So
no,
I
I'm
think-
not suggesting, I'm just saying I was willing to, it just was an idea because I thought, I personally don't want to be paid for something I'm not doing. So
Yeah, but
this
they might
came up and I
also,
thought,
you might also want to take that $1,000 that was dedicated to Business Navigator and assign it to some other project entirely. And Stef's point about they like to see that the organization that's applying has some, hate the expression, skin in the game is absolutely accurate. So if we reduce our skin to $500, I think they might wonder a little.
Yeah,
okay, so what about, so in that, but in that regard, Maureen, what if I then we accept the $1,000 grant from the Community Foundation for the Navigator program and redirect it to this? So then it's
Well-
Can't do that.
We can't do
Vaune,
that.
I think I'll just interject and say, Maureen, I think I appreciate what you're saying. And, you know, we've already talked in our meeting today about, for instance, an island comeback gift certificate workshop. We've talked about a business association. There are probably lots of other ideas that where, you know, potentially that money could be in alignment with what the Business Navigator program was doing. So yeah, if that's your recommendation, Maureen, I propose that we just, I do believe that we have 1,500 available in our budget because we've.
So I
structured it
thought I
that
had
way.
attached the budget to the agenda. Sorry, I didn't. Do you want me to share a screen right now or send it by email?
I think in the interest of time, unless someone specifically wants to see it, we should just send it by email.
Okay.
Hey, Stef, I'd suggest reaching out to BDC as well. As part of their business assessment service, they do continuity planning, and they list BDC. So I'll send you a link. They have
Thank you.
all the templates and all the questions to ask. So I know their consultants will do it for free, but I don't know what the conditions are around doing it for free.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I'd like to move the recommendation that's in the agenda, which is that the Community Economic Development Committee resolved to allocate 1,500 of its 2020 budget to support pandemic response by funding business continuity plan workshops for businesses that provide essential services on Bowen Island.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Ed? And should we have any other discussion or should we vote on it?
We need Kiersten.
Kiersten, are you there?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
So just a question. All we're doing is providing funding. There is no commitment at this point to engage anybody in that resolution. And given what Marcus just said, we may or may not be able to get it for free in total. So I'm just confused. We're committing a funding for workshops, but we're not going the next step and hiring anybody at this point, because that's not in the resolution.
So I guess I'll take this resolution and go to, I've got a secret non-EOC meeting at 1 o'clock today with the CAO and the emergency program coordinator. So I can take this information to them. And maybe if Mark sends a link, do a bit of looking into that. I think that the person that we have, Lisa Bonini, she's been working with Jen for years and has been already working with me to craft this. So perhaps we can take the information Marcus has provided. Like, for example, like just providing people with templates is what we have been doing for years. And it doesn't seem, there's a bit of hand holding that we're looking for here that I feel like we might just need to pay for at this point.
Yeah, it's to your point, is someone actually has to write the document for somebody, and the business continuity plan is useless if you don't actually do a practice at least once a year to actually go that, oh, does this plan work?
Thank you. So we can really use this resource, but maybe in a different, not this.
So Stef, I think our committee's expectation is that this is an initiative that staff has taken on, and it's following on previous work of this committee with business continuity planning, and that so we would have some reporting and an outline of what this program and what this workshop would look like come back to us.
Yeah, so I've written an application for the Community Foundation Resiliency. I didn't include it because it's still draft. I can share that with you. And I guess things like the toilet report and the COVID survey report are there to let you know that I will be providing you with boring details constantly.
So my question, who's the lead on this? The Emergency Management Program or the CEDC? Because you're sitting on both committees.
Yeah,
or both programs. It's sounding to me like it's because it's Jen's contact that it's the emergency program that's the lead on this business continuity planning, and they want some help and funding from us.
It's a little bit that, but also the opposite, because I was the one working on the advanced plan and Jen feels like she's got a lot on her plate. So was saying this, I will have you run with this if this is something that.
But you're running with it as a member of the Emergency Management Advanced Planning team, not as a CEDC person, is
Yeah.
what I'm getting.
That's true, but also with my contacts with the business community through the committee.
Okay, well, one of the things that I'm unclear about is who is identified as these essential services, so would be invited to this workshop.
Okay.
But again, that's I don't think we have the time to get
So that's
into a lot of detail right now.
No detail, quick answer. The province has identified a list of those categories. We have that list, and then Tyler Ruggles in the logistics section of the EOC, he then created a Bowen specific list. It's not complete, especially when it comes to the trades, which is Lisa Bonini has identified as a huge important group to have business continuity planning for the winter storms. But I will be working on that list after this. And it is, but it is defined by the province.
So it's not the initial list that the province put out when COVID first happened, right? Because basically my profession was listed as an essential service, right? Which I can't imagine I would be included in something like this.
I don't think you will be included,
No.
I made notes to follow up with you guys then. So on the list of essential services, on the EDC budget, that's information I'll send you, and possibly Lisa Bonini's information.
Okay, so we have a motion in front of us. It's been
I'm hearing
put
a
forward.
lot of, sorry, I'm hearing
Yeah.
a lot of lack of clarity
Mhm.
around this.
Jen, Steph, what would be the consequence if we decided to defer the decision? Does that create a problem for the schedule of getting a workshop like this done, or the other partners being engaged?
Yeah, I was feeling like it's August, maybe we can do this mid-September, and Jen saying she wants to do it as soon as possible, the sooner the better, because of the numbers that have come up with the pandemic in Kelowna, etc.
I think also
Take
we're
longer, I don't know the consequences.
Yeah. I think we're also sort of half preparing for the second wave to hit in September as well.
Yeah. So is there the lack of clarity about who the lead is? I guess, is that the lack of clarity?
I think that's part of it, but it's also that this doesn't even indicate sort of the larger context, which is that it's part of a resiliency fund application. So maybe if we just go back to the recommendation and clarify a bit what's going on.
Okay.
But who's making the resiliency fund application? Is it the CEDC or is it the emergency planning program?
I think it's probably the emergency planning program, isn't it?
Yeah, so maybe we change the wording to say along the lines of the Community Economic Development Committee resolved to allocate $1,500 of its budget to support the emergency programs pandemic response by funding business continuity plan workshops, so that it's clear we're helping out them, we're not running with it.
If we could add another little bit in there, the emergency plans, pandemic response application to the resiliency fund, just to put that in there. And then that clarifies who's doing it and that it's a contribution to a bigger project that is still subject to approval.
Yeah, perfect.
Could you read that again, Stef?
That the committee resolved to allocate $1,500 of its 2020 budget to support the emergency programs pandemic response application to the Community Foundation Resiliency Fund by funding business continuity plan workshops for businesses that provide essential services on Bowen Island. Should I say
there's something missing there?
Emergency program?
Our 1,500 is going to support the emergency program pandemic response, and we support their application. to the, maybe gets added on at the end.
And we support.
The emergency programs application to the Community Foundation
I'm
Resilience.
going to do a share screen on this.
Yeah.
Wordsmith it.
No.
Can you see?
Can you make it bigger?
Yeah. Can you make it bigger?
Oh, if I took my screen down again. Oh, that's better. I got rid of the glare.
Is that better? Should I say the Bowen Island Municipal here?
Yeah.
And I'll capitalize. Emergency program, pandemic response.
I don't think we need the "and we support"
No.
pandemic response application.
Well, that's, but you wanted the reference to the application to the Community Resiliency Fund in there.
Yeah, I do want that.
But where are we going to put it?
Response application. The emergency program pandemic response application to the Community Foundation Resiliency Fund for business continuity plan workshops.
But then it doesn't make sense. Resolve to allocate 1,500 to support the municipality emergency program pandemic response application. We're not applying the 1,500 to support the application. We're giving 1,500 to the program, or is it contingent upon them getting the application? That's why it was
Response.
the support of the Community Foundation Resiliency Fund application was a separate thing at the end.
No, I think that they're being conceived as the application is going in. It's a $4,500 application. We are allocating our piece of it. And by allocating our piece, we're part of the application. If that makes sense. Maybe it didn't.
And what if the application gets turned down, then our 1,500 doesn't go into the program?
That was my expectation because I don't think it would be viable then.
Yeah.
But if there's a program that Marcus is talking about that's free, but it might only need a little bit of money, then we come back and think about this all over again?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have had that there.
not yet.
Oh,
Okay, do you want to, are we done with the screen share? You want
sorry.
to end the screen share and then we'll
Okay.
think we can vote on that?
It's there. Oh, okay.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Okay, so Maureen, did you want to move that new recommendation?
Moved as amended.
Yeah. And Ed, you in favor of seconding that? Yeah. Okay. So then all in favor of the recommendation?
Aye.
Is there anyone who's against? No. So we're carried anonymously.
Unanimously.
Unanimously, to be clear. Yes.
You're on YouTube. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for that. The CDC plan restart draft RFP. Maureen, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah. I'd like to start just with the recommendation stuff and reword it so that we're not actually approving this. So I'd like the recommendation to read that the Community Economic Development Committee supports the Phase 2 and 3 Bowen Island Community Economic Development Plan request for proposal and refers it to Council for consideration. Because we don't, on our own, have the authority to approve this. So what you have in front of you.
Sorry, Maureen, what was the verb for council? Support the phase 2 and 3 CD plan proposal and what to council?
And refers it to council for consideration.
Thank you.
Refer it to council?
Refers it to council
Okay.
for consideration. Because I think there's some discussion that needs to happen at the council level on this. So this is a draft, and it was put together by a working group that included Vaune and Rod and Ed and Sherry Johnson, helped by providing some material that was being used for the health center RFP as a base for some parts of it. We spent some time discussing ways in which to restart the community economic development plan work that was put on hold back in April because of the COVID-19. We considered a couple of approaches and then let them sit for a little while to see which ones might make sense. One was to continue along the lines that we had been with a paid employee. Another was to use the remaining budget in a more discretionary fashion and to put more of the responsibility for the work onto this committee. And the third was to hire a consultant for a time limit or team of consultants for a time limited period on a fixed price contract. And after some consideration and some discussion with Liam about how to handle this, we landed on the contractor approach. So what you have in front of you is something that would be subject to a number of further okays or revisions. One is that we need to obtain permission from the province, from the Rural Dividend Fund, to take a somewhat different approach. It still has the same deliverables. It still has the same phases imagined, but it is different from what we originally submitted. So we need to get that approval, and our CEO would take the lead in trying to secure that, and then council approval. Whatever this ends up being after we've discussed it a bit and after council has discussed it, it would be an RFP that was issued by the municipality. And given the size of the RFP, it's an open process that people can respond to. We were hoping to get started in October and pull things together by next summer. So I'm assuming, and maybe wrongly, but I'm assuming you've all had a chance to take a look at it. In the interest of time, I don't want to spend a huge amount of time on this, but I'd welcome general feedback on the approach, and if there's anything specific, if there's wordsmithing, maybe keep those concerns and send them to me by email. That would be more efficient. Well, what do you think?
I just remind everyone this is an open meeting, just to be a reminder.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Maureen, for introducing that and your work on it, and the rest of the people working on it. I mean, it's obviously a really important area because we have this remaining budget that was for the community economic development plan. Things are very different now than they were when the plan was started. And I agree, it seems like that the contract approach is a workable, probably the workable solution for still getting the most important part of the phases of the plan done, which is the community engagement and the actual writing of the plan itself. And I guess it also, for just to reiterate what's written here, that it's approximately $45,000 is what remains in the approximately $100,000 original budget for the plan.
It's a bit more than that.
Yeah.
There's a bit more in that remains, and the project itself is $125,000. So there is contingency built in here, but it's being presented as fixed price. And one of the bits of advice that Liam gave to me when we were sort of fleshing this out further was to not provide a huge amount of information to potential consultants about the detail of the scheduling and the specifics of the engagement process. He said that any consultant, essentially, he said, any consultant worth their salt will be able to figure that out and will be able to do the necessary research to come up with a lucid proposal. My first impulse had been to provide all sorts of links to the municipality and this, that, and the other. And he said, don't do that. If you're looking to hire somebody and do the necessary research and think it through, they should be able to demonstrate that in the proposal that they develop themselves. So he said, keep it short and be specific about what the requirements are. What's different in this from, well, there are a number of things that are different, but the importance of having that familiarity with the, a strong familiarity with the local economy and expertise in actually delivering the engagement process. That emphasis has become more prominent in this document. Sorry, Alison, I interrupted you.
No, that you didn't. I just had a question on the original award. Said we had to have the thing done by March 22nd, 2021, and you've got June 2021 in there. So do we have actual confirmation from the province that extending to June is fine?
We have a confirmation from the province that extending to December.
Okay, all right. I knew we talked about it, but I didn't know whether we actually had it in writing.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, okay.
And one thing, with a fixed price contract, we could conceivably get a team of people. So you could get a small firm applying for this, a small consulting firm. So it opens it up to, I think, a wider range of response.
Yeah. Agreed. I haven't gone through it in detail, but I had a quick, because it came in yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to look till last night. So I'll have a look in detail before the council meeting. But are you intending to put this on Monday's council, tonight's council, Maureen?
No, not at all. There's far too much there. If we do have a meeting in August, what Liam and I talked about was bring it to the committee, see if you guys are generally okay with that, and then bring it, if we can, to the August meeting, special meeting of council. And if we get it through them, it can sort of be massaged, and any of the sort of bureaucratic boilerplate that needs to go in here that I've missed can get inserted, and then we can get it out into the world, ideally by the beginning of September.
So we're really not looking at anybody being on board till the early part of October at the earliest.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, should we have the recommendation. Stef, did you want to review it just to make sure we are clear on it?
I can't remember if I moved it. Did I move it?
No, you were just giving the rewording to Stef, so maybe Stef can just read it back to us.
That the committee support the phase 2 and 3 community economic development plan request for proposal as presented at its July 27, 2020 meeting, and refer it to council for consideration.
So I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, and all in favor then?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? No, okay, unanimous.
And thank you to Ed and to Vaune and to you, Rod, and to Sherry for working on this.
Yes, absolutely. It's a team effort, and mostly to the rest of you and not me. Great. Okay, so that other than the information items that we have attached to our agenda, now Ed, you had wanted to add
3.
7.3. Do you want to just, I know we're after 11 here. Does anyone have to leave in the next few minutes?
I probably have to leave in 15 or 20. Since this is our last meeting until after the referendum, I thought it might be appropriate to make a resolution that the CEDC supports the building of the community center and urges Bowen Islanders to vote yes on the referendum.
And do we need to add a reference to, why as the CEDC specifically, we would be in support of it? I mean,
Do I hear whereas is coming?
I don't know about whereas, but
Yeah, I kind of wondering that why Edward, why would the CEDC be
Why wouldn't
Well,
you?
Yes, that's
why wouldn't us?
why wouldn't
well,
we?
I think the answer is we probably are, but at the same time, specifically tying that to economic development is not something I've given thought to, and it might be important if we're making a recommendation.
I
okay.
would say that it does support economic development. It makes Bowen Island a more attractive community, and it will attract people to Bowen, and then attract businesses as well.
And the other thing, the Fish and Wildlife Club sponsored a provincial or conference for there's an association they belong to, which is, I can't quite remember the name of, and they had no place that was large enough, proper venue to hold it in. And the Islands Trust quarterly council meetings, it's very difficult for a proper venue, and it's going to provide a venue, so we could do some conferences and things like that, and that all supports economic development.
Yes. And I also think from an economic point of view, if you were offered 2/3 of the cost of a huge capital expenditure and you're not willing to pay the final third, I would question that as a business judgment. I really would.
From going forward and publicizing this, the short and sweet resolution is, that's the clip we want to be able to put into, notices to the public and that kind of thing.
I think it's nice having these notes for the minutes, though, what you guys are saying.
For the notes in the minutes, but not clutter up the resolution with a bunch of whereases, because it's the resolution itself, that succinct wording that Ed had that was important.
I think it's really helpful to have a short sort of quote in all of our publications and communications to say that there's support from this group.
Yeah, and that's why keeping the resolution neat and tidy is good.
Yes.
But you could say at the beginning of the resolution that it supports the economic development goals of Bowen Island.
Good.
Yeah, I think in particular the community economic development goals of
Yes.
Bowen Island.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can turn the resolution around to say that the building of the community center supports the community economic development goals of the island, and the CEDC strongly urges, supports and strongly urges everyone to vote yes in the referendum. So it's all part of it, or?
Yeah, I like that, Alison. I think we should turn it around.
If you're wanting to put some references in there.
Yeah.
Supports
the communities.
Yeah, supports the goals. Supports, I would say, the goals of the community economic development, because that's what it does. It supports our goals.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Supports community economic development goals.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Take out the Stef. Yeah.
Making me nervous now.
You can fix the spelling.
Yeah.
Later.
This is not what Jamie wants though, to.
Well, we might still end up just having the little clip of the actual resolution in the public.
Okay.
Publicity, but it's all
Perfect,
there in the minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the fact that we've clarified it.
Do we want
Yeah.
building of or project? One of those two words is gonna go.
I would say the word building makes the resolution sound like you're all
Yes.
for the construction as opposed to the establishment. So
Yeah.
I would get rid of the word building and pick a different word.
Supports the community center project.
Yeah. Because it's not just about building it, it's about the long-term spin-off economic benefits, the
supports
quality
the
of life
building
benefits.
and, yeah, you're right. But it supports the community. Let me move this so I can see it.
This is good.
It seems there's something missing to me in the verbiage. I agree with Marcus, but let me get rid of my.
You're wanting an active, we've got to get on with it type of.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, it's just missing the word committee before supports.
Oh, very thanks.
Not the building, what would, because you're right, we support more than the building.
It's like the
Project
establishment.
encompasses the ethos behind it.
Supports having a community center?
Supports establishing. No, that's not.
Are you talking down there, Ed, or are you talking in the first sentence as whereas the building?
No, he's in the actual motion, I think.
Oh, okay, we've got building up here, whereas the building of the community center supports community economic development goals. It is resolved that the community economic development, we're redundant, there's a lot of redundancy there.
Yeah. Could I suggest, whereas the proposed community center furthers community economic development goals.
Yes.
Oh, good, yeah.
Be it
Oh,
resolved.
yeah.
Be it resolved, no, therefore, we don't need it. Be
Yeah.
it resolved that the Community Economic Development Committee supports the project and blah, blah.
Is it supports with an S, Maureen?
Yeah.
No, it's subjunctive.
Well, really what we're supporting is
You resolve that.
is what's on, is what the referendum is, which is to borrow the money.
Do we even need to support the community center project, or we just say be it resolved that Community Economic Development Committee urges community members to vote yes on the referendum?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or you could say in the community center referendum.
Well, yeah, the community center referendum.
It's a boring referendum though.
I would just say
It's the
yes on the
community center
referendum.
borrowing referendum, if you wanted to be technical.
Yeah, I think calling it a community center referendum is confusing.
But every fourth word is community. So.
Yeah, I know. Talk about my files.
Whereas a proposed community center furthers community economic development goals, be it resolved that this, why don't we just do CEDC?
Because the general public won't know what CEDC means.
Yeah.
I don't know, will they?
No.
No, I can't do that in a resolution.
Okay.
I would just finish it with support the project and.
Well, why don't we get rid of this community here?
Yeah.
That one can go.
No.
No, that can't.
If we're talking about community economic development, there's
Yeah.
a big difference between community economic development and economic development.
What's wrong with be it resolved that the Community Economic Development Committee supports the project and urges community members to vote yes in the referendum?
Oh, why don't we say Bowen Islanders to vote yes? Get rid of
Sure.
the- How many communities do you need?
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
that okay?
Yeah,
That's
Takes
good.
a village.
good.
And that way, even like non-resident property owners will feel like part
Do
of
we want to put a date in on for the referendum or not?
in the September 12th, 2020 referendum.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need the 2020 in the September 12th referendum.
Yeah.
You got 2020.
I would leave it.
It's fine. Let's
Okay.
just do that.
Yeah, you have to have the year.
Move the motion on.
Move it. I've moved it.
Okay, and who seconds? Steph, do you want
I'll
to take
second
it
it.
off the screen share?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Jamie,
and
you second it. Let Jamie second it.
Jamie seconds it. Okay.
Two thumbs.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? No. Unanimous again. Great. I think that concludes our agenda for today. Thank you all for sticking through.
Excellent.
Okay. Recycling's open today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to get my way out of my laundry room.
Thanks,
All
everybody.
right.
Okay.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Nice to see
Bye.
everyone. Enjoy your
Okay,
summer.
Take care.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.